why should we move to the cloud? The single point agenda for any organization is to reduce its costs and to improve performance. Now, when the deployment becomes easier and faster, there's automatic reduction of the cloud, there's automatic reduction in cost which happens in the cloud. What will happen if suddenly the number of users are very many? Then there is built-in elasticity in the cloud which helps us to move forward easily. We do not have to worry about disaster recovery kind of a scenario because again there is high availability and triplicate copies of all data that we have on the cloud. Finally, depending on how we have made changes and implemented and moved our solution onto the cloud, there is future proofing. Sometimes the operating system can be automatically patched up. Let's say if you are using version of SQL Server 2012, if there's a new service pack released, the new service pack can be applied on the cloud without you having to do additional work. That means you can use the features that is available in the latest version without you having to do a test. All right. So these are all the generic advantages we have when we have to move to the cloud. What specifically can we get when we have to move BI to the cloud? First thing is when we are trying to work on a BI project, one of the most difficult questions that we answer as data stewards is, what is the size of the hardware? In about 3 months time, probably the data size is going to be 10 GB, but at the end of the year it's going to be 1 TB. So when is the right time for me to procure additional hardware? If I'm planning a project for 2-3 years, should I procure all that hardware right away? When we mentioned above that cloud is scalable, cloud is elastic, so the hardware estimate does not play such a huge role because you can easily increase your capacity, be it processing power or be it storage on the cloud. Second thing is the hardware costs. All of us know that in a BI scenario, when we are executing ETL, there's a lot of memory that's taken up. Similarly, when we are processing, there's a lot of compute power that's taken up. Similarly, when we are processing cubes, again a lot of memory is occupied. So do we plan for that redundancy or do we just go with what is sufficient? Again, because the cloud is elastic, we have versions of the cloud in which you pay for what you use. So when your ETL scenario is running, or because this is the month of March and all financial systems, IT computing systems are overburdened with tax calculations, in the month of March you can ask for additional compute power and storage, and during the normal runs you don't have to have anything. So as I mentioned, the single most important thing of any solution or any application is to reduce cost and increase performance. When you don't have to worry about the hardware sizing, when you have to pay for only what you use, it shortens the implementation time overall without us being bogged down by the infrastructure. Hence, there's a lot of advantages in moving our BI solutions to the cloud. Now that we have agreed that we need to move BI to the cloud, let's see what are the 3 possible ways in which we can move BI to the cloud. There are 3 common methods. One is infrastructure as a service, IaaS, platform as a service, PaaS, and software as a service, SaaS. Let's see what these abbreviations stand for. When we are running anything on the premise, our application, data, runtime, middleware, virtualization, we have to take care of everything. When we deal with infrastructure as a service, also called as hardware as a service, anything below the operating system like virtualization, storage, networking is all taken care of by the service provider. So we install the OS, we install the runtime, we take care of the middleware and data and application. Alright? So we don't have to worry about networking and virtualization. When we use platform as a service, the operating system, the middleware and the runtime is also managed by the service provider. For example, SQL Azure is offered as platform as a service. We have to only deal with application and data and pay for what we use. The third thing is software as a service, where, for example, like HD Insight, which is our big data story, Microsoft's big data story, you sign up and you start using it on day 1. Office is another great example of software as a service. You don't have to worry about its maintenance, its upgrade, anything. You just have to sign in, pay for what you use, and it's readily available off the shelf. Now, all these 3 can be implemented in 3 different modes. You can either do it in public cloud, or you can do it in private cloud, or you can do it as a hybrid cloud. When we decide to do it as IaaS, you can deploy your own solution onto the cloud. Whatever virtual machine you have on the cloud, you can move it on to Azure. Now, our licenses are mobile, so if you bought licenses which would run on premise, you can also migrate it to the cloud. Okay. Now, the scaling of the architecture has to be done by you in particular, because you are dealing with everything on the cloud. So you moved your entire infrastructure to the cloud. You have to take care of certain scaling here. When you start dealing with PaaS, which is platform as a service, you pay for what you use. It allows some customization, but not as much as in IaaS. In IaaS, you can have Unix virtual machines, you can run Python, Java, Perl, everything. But in platform as a service, you can run Microsoft technologies. Finally, when you start using software as a service, everything here is pre-packaged. You just have to sign up, pay for what you use, and go ahead. So the flexibility you have is less, because that should be available as a built-in feature. All these are available as public cloud. What are the other two variants? Private cloud and hybrid cloud. Private cloud is, if your organization owns and maintains a private cloud, you can design your own application on the cloud. It is slightly expensive as well. In hybrid, your data is on the private cloud, but when you have these spikes, like what we spoke about, the sudden impulse of the data for the maximum impact that you will have for data during any quarter-end reporting, year-end reporting, financial rush, calendar end, is managed by the public cloud. So it's a combination of private and public. So to accomplish load balancing here is a slightly, it requires some skill in order to accomplish it. Okay. Now let's recall this BI life cycle in order to see what were the challenges in doing real-time BI. What happens in a BI scenario? You've got different OLTP systems, ERP systems, database, HR databases, finance databases on different sources, Microsoft, IBM's DB2, Oracle, Teradata, SAP, and so on and so forth. You run ETL, which will extract the data from the source systems. You will do transformations such as, convert from one currency to a uniform reporting currency, or you standardize dates, or you derive certain codes. For example, all my gender is going to be represented as M and F, never as 1 and 0. And you load the data. At the time, you also cleanse the data. If there are some fields which are compulsory and you do not have them in your system, then you say, no, these are all exceptions. Somebody will have to clean up with it. You also take care of standardization such as 2 decimal places, 3 decimal places, and schedule the run from the OLTP system into the data storage. Now, the difference between the data sources and the data storage is, the data storage generally is denormalized, because in a data warehousing scenario, we encourage redundancy. We also have aggregates. In an OLTP system, the data is mostly normalized and it is optimized for inserts, updates, and deletes. In a data warehouse, since the updates are all scheduled, there are what is more important is the reporting ability to query. From a data warehouse, in some scenarios, we also build data marts. So what is the difference between OLTP systems and data marts? In an OLTP system, the sources are different. Credit card system is different from HR systems, is different from employee database. Whereas when in a data mart, it is application, it is all subject oriented. So you deal with employees, you deal with vendors, or you deal with customers. So it does not matter where the customer is coming from. He could have bought a single product, he could be a recurring customer, he could be a customer with the largest amount of product. You put all your customers together and you optimize them. When then you build your memory cubes, you build your cubes. Traditionally, before SQL Server 2012, we had MOLAB cubes in which, processing would pull the data from the OLTP system or from the warehouses or march into the cube. And now from SQL Server 2012, we also have the tabular model. In the tabular model, the cube resides in memory. And then we build reports, graphs, dashboards, either from the mart or from the warehouse or from the cubes. Okay? So what exactly is the most difficult thing in this? Identifying what are the changes which have happened in the OLTP system and moving out into the warehouse. The transactions are easier to move because they are all based on date time stamp. But the dimensions are what are difficult. For example, let's say you have a database of 1,000 students. In that, some of the students may change their names for whatever reason. Some of them may have a wrong date of birth. They might want to correct it, and you will acquire new students. So what are the students who have who have undergone an SCD2 or an SCD3 and which are the new ones. In order to do this, we used complex stored procedures, we used date time stamps, and in SQL Server 2005, there were certain triggers introduced. After trigger, before trigger, insert trigger, where we were escalated to have those triggers because to a large extent, it helped us identify the changes in the OLTP system and put it on into the data store. Nevertheless, all of them impacted the source OLTP system in a big way. Now, what is the change there? What is the new method that we have? We've got CDC or change data capture. Okay, it's a